9-year vet in the league. A little memory lane there for you. By the way, Michael, thank you for joining the show. We just spent so much time in the first block talking about Philly and what's going on and their record and the meetings and the rats and all of the things that come with playing in Philadelphia. And obviously you were there. Maybe shed a little light on what it's like in that particular city playing for that team.
Yeah, I mean, it's gossipy, right? Like the people, they want to know the inside information. They go the extra mile to probably try to find, what's going on and, who's saying what, more than other cities. So it is a gossipy place.
Ew, I don't like that. I do not love that. But as a rookie, because you and Lou both had the honors of being rookies in Philadelphia, there's a part of me that thinks, you know what, you're getting thrown into the fire rather than maybe a soft landing somewhere else as a rookie. Would you look at it that way?
Yeah, I would say so. As far as like the media stuff goes, you're definitely thrown in the fire more. Like people are more direct. They ask the tougher questions. On the court, obviously, there's a little pressure, but if you're playing well, the city loves you. If not, as long as you're playing hard, I feel like the city will be behind you. But in terms of the media and stuff, yeah, you're definitely thrown in the fire.
Michael, first of all, good to see you, buddy. I miss you out there playing. Your first ever game in the NBA, you go ahead and drop 22, 12, and 7 with 9 steals against LeBron, the defending champs, Miami Heat. It doesn't get much better than that. What is like your best memory from that night? Because that is a hell of a start to a career.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously it was my first game. At the end of the game, after the game, just my mom was sitting courtside, being able to give her a hug, my stepfather a hug. It was kind of that surreal moment, like we're here, like it was my first game. Like this is all the hard work that we put in, all the sacrifice that we made as a family to pursue my dreams. So, I mean, that moment was special to me. Like I'll never forget that day.
Mike, for whatever reason, man, the Sixers, they traded you less than a year after winning Rookie of the Year. Take me through that time. Were you surprised, upset, and did you want to stay in Philadelphia? What was that process like being traded so early on in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I mean, I was all those emotions, bro. I was surprised. I was upset. I didn't understand. I spent a lot of time trying to understand it. I would be in the meetings with Hinkie and, Brett Brown, and we would talk about our future. Like, they would ask me my opinion on, X, Y, and Z, whatever. So I thought I was really part of the process, like step by step, like things that I wouldn't even ask for, I was invited to, like, and I'm sure they meant it with all good intention, but it was confusing when, I got the call. I got the call with like 5 minutes of the trade deadline. It was like, you're being traded to Milwaukee. So yeah, it was a tough experience for me just to, try to understand something that I was never going to be able to understand,
What did they get out of that deal?
What'd you say, Lou?
Who was traded in that deal? You remember?
I was traded, and it was a three-way team deal. I think it was Brandon Knight was traded from Milwaukee. I don't remember the third team. I don't remember where he went.
Okay.
But it was tough though. Like I walked in the locker room and like Brandon Knight made a great effect on that team. Like he built some real relationships there. So like when I walked in, it was like dudes were upset.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure
it was the new guy.
Yeah. So I was like, damn, like I know y'all don't even y'all don't know me. But obviously his effect was great. So I don't know. It was tough all the way around. Like I was upset to be traded. And then I got there and it was like, not to say dudes weren't welcoming or anything like that, but you know how it is, bro. You lose, feel like your friend is leaving, or moving away.
Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, I got traded for Chris Paul going to the Clippers, so I understand. Everybody like, what's up with this? I get it.
Wait, do you guys do you know a little bit? Like, does an agent call you 20 minutes before and say, there's some talks, it's getting louder? Or does you get to that 5-minute mark before the trade deadline and you're thinking, cool, I'm clear? How does that work?
Depends on the organization, honestly.
You see sometimes dudes figuring out on Twitter and with Woj or Shams that happens more likely than not now.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's honestly it's a roll of the dice.
Huh.
Like you could be on an organization where you don't know, or you can be on an organization, they give you a little heads up that they're looking to shop you around a little bit.
That would be nice. A little heads up would be nice.
I got
And
traded
the crazy thing
about.
is you got to
not
leave the
5
next day. That's the craziest part.
Yeah.
I had to leave the same day sometimes.
That's what I'm
Depending
saying.
on where
I'm
you
like,
get traded in the season, you might have to leave the same day. I had a GM tell me I was good. I can take my pregame nap, and my agent called me right after, say he's lying. Stay on the phone. He said he's lying. Stay on the phone doing
up.
something behind closed doors, and I was traded 15 minutes later.
At least it happened though when you were young, Mike, with like no kids, and like if you had to change your kids' schools and all that, that's where it gets a little dicey for me.
oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I feel for those dudes that got to go through that. Like getting up, leaving the city, leaving the kids. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Take your nap. He's lying. That's amazing. Well, you know what? You got to play with a young Giannis in Milwaukee. It's always fun to sort of go back and look and see what people have become. I know Jaylen Brown just called him a child, so I don't know what you would call him back when you played with him. Let me ask you, what was he like? I mean, we've seen him sort of physically grow, mentally grow, become a champion, all those things. When you first got there, what did you see?
I mean, when I first got there, he barely even knew English. So that's what we spent most of our time on I was trying to teach him how to speak. I was trying to teach him the way of America, like how things are. Like we talk about cultural things with music and history and things like that. But like in terms of a hooper, I think everybody could see the potential that he had, right? Like you see him you see him in practice in certain moments, and you see him early on his rookie year in certain moments in the game where you're like, oh man, he's done this like 1 or 2 times. That's going to turn into 4 or 5 times. And then once that turns into 4 or 5 and it's 10 plus, it's like, you could see him progressing each day. And it was cool to see. Like, I remember like there was always battles of who was going to be better, like him or Jabari. I know Jabari suffered some stuff like that, but it was cool to see them both grow. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see him. I think most people knew what he was going to become.
I like the idea that you're spending time like on the language and the culture, because the hoop and stuff, yeah, we can get all that, but I love that. Like, what were the things that he gravitated towards? Were there certain things in America immediately that he was like, ugh, or loved?
Yeah, like I remember he would like come in the locker room and he would be like, "Yo, you listen to this song by J. Cole?" I'm like, bro, that was from 4 years ago. No, but it was cool. It was cool, like to just update him on, different things like that. Like it was almost like I had somebody who was really willing to engage in that pop culture, in the rap culture, and like I could just feed him music, like feed like, yo, you like this? All right, listen to this next. Like, and like same thing with movie. Like you like, like watch Coming to America. Like, like watch this movie, watch that movie. And they're like, he'd be, it was like being able to just erase all those memories from your head and being able to watch those movies all over, listen to that music all over again for the first time.
Oh, that's
man,
fun.
that's super dope. Just playing with different people and learning new cultures and being able to put Giannis on, man. That's dope. I got another throwback for you, man. While you were in Milwaukee, you also played with OJ Mayo. He was a high school. Had one of the craziest, coldest mixtapes back in the day. I wish we had mixtapes. Y'all was the first era of hoop was to had a mixtape. What was that experience like playing with OJ, man?
Bro, it was different. Bro. Playing with OJ, it was definitely somebody that in my experience in the league that I had never like experienced before. Like just as far as like his logic is just he's just an interesting character. Like I remember him going like, I'll be like, yo, what you doing today? He'd be like, we're in Chicago. He'd be like, I'm going into the city. And I'm like, he was like, I was like, what you about to do? He's like, oh, I'm about to just go shoot for some bread. I'm like, all right.
Well,
So he comes back. He comes back with a duffel bag, like 50,000 in his duffel bag. I'm like, yo, you want all that just off just shots at the gym? He was like, yeah, we're all just in there. And then he left the bag on the bus like while we're going to practice. I'm like, yo, like but that's OJ. Like that's the way he lived. And like I remember playing against Golden State. Like we had beat Golden State. We gave them their first loss. You know, where everybody's talking back and forth. Me and Draymond's talking back and forth. And then Draymond said something about me into the media about how I lost my spot or something, whatever. And then after the game, we had played them again in like a week. So we played them in Golden State. They ended up beating us, but it was a close game. And after the game, I remember OJ just going up to Draymond and be like, "Yo, watch how you talk about my young bull in the media." And like we got into it a little bit. That was the first time I was like, "Dang, like this he really got my back." Like, like just awesome. Little moments like that, like little dope moments like that. I remember, you know, OJ by, and just him being a leader in the locker room. He helped out Giannis a lot too, just about mindset stuff and working hard. Like there's a misconception about him, I think, that most people think that they know, but like most people don't know the OJ Mayo, that like he was like a preacher in his own way.
Hey, Chandler.
Hey, he was my high school class, Lou, and the D1 Greyhounds. Remember him, Billy Walker? Like I'm telling you, he was my age. I was top 20 in the country, and I would get nervous. I would get nervous around this dude. Like he had that type of energy. Yeah. Like he was such a thinning bro, where I just wanted to get to his game early to like watch him in layup drills type of stuff. Like he was that cold in high school.
Hey, let me tell you something, Chandler. There's guys in the neighborhood that they have money, and for whatever reason, they feel like they can shoot better than pros, and they'll gamble that money with you just by shooting regular jump shots, and you don't actually do it. Like, bro, I'm gonna take your money. It sounded like OJ was actually going and taking the bags, bro.
He was. He really was.
Yeah, you don't actually do it.
By the way, I'm pretty sure he's still hooping in Egypt right now. Nelly is one of my good friends. Nelly don't care how much I've accomplished in the NBA. Every time he see me, he go in his pocket and he wants to shoot for jump shots. He want to shoot. He want to play for some money. He want to shoot easy money. It didn't look like OJ was running around city to city collecting bags.
Collected bags.
I love this. By the way, the fact that he also could leave the whole story is perfect. All right, you played on the Bulls. We're talking alphas here. D Wade, Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler. 3 alphas, all under one roof. How does that work? Doesn't seem like it would. How did it work?
It was rocky. It was real rocky in the beginning. I just felt like they were just trying to figure out, you know, their place. I will say toward when we got to the playoffs, I feel like they all like took a step back and were able to sacrifice, you know, something so that they all could play a role. I think they ended up figuring out, but in the beginning it was tough, man. It was tough. Like there's a lot of different personalities in there. Jimmy and D Wade, kind of similar personalities in a way, and Rondo is a lot different. So it took them a little while to figure it out.
And then a coach gets called soft, which obviously is a big deal. And of course, it's Jimmy Butler. So tell me about the moment that word drops.
Yeah, so we were just like, we had a bad start to the year. Like we had a real bad start to the year. We had a team meeting. And then Jimmy and Coach Hoiberg, they were going like, they weren't getting along. And Jimmy's supposed to be, you know, he's the best player on our team. If them two aren't getting along, like something's off. So we needed to get them two on the same page. And Hoiberg was he was a rookie coach at the time. So I'm sure he was trying to figure stuff out too. Like, but anyway, so there was one game where Jimmy got a tech, D Wade got a tech. The refs were awful that game. And then Taj Gibson got a tech. And so like if Taj gets a tech, something's off. Like he's a, you know what I mean? He's passionate, but he's more mild-mannered than, you know, with the refs than most people. So then we went back into the locker room. Next day we had a team meeting. And so people were just like upset with Coach Hoiberg because, you know, he wasn't out there on the refs, you know, having the guys' backs like maybe he was supposed to. So next day we have a team meeting and Coach Hoiberg is like, Jimmy, like what's going on, man? Like what's going on with me and you? And he was like, Jimmy like kind of shook his head and he was like, no, tell me. And Jimmy was like, he looked at him, he was like, well, for one, I think you're soft. Two, he didn't even get to two. He didn't even get to two. Coach Hoiberg was like, well,
don't ask a question.
Yeah, like he didn't even get to and Coach Hoiberg was like, "Fuck you, Jimmy," and then Jimmy, you know how Jimmy is, he's real sarcastic, so he's like, "Oh, see, you asked me now, it's fuck
I'm
you,
about to say
Jimmy."
that kind of proves his point. If you won't let the man speak, that proves his
Right.
point. You
Right,
can't
so
What are
take
you
it.
showing?
Then he went on and say like how like he got a tech, Dwayne got a tech, Tosh got a tech. He didn't feel like he didn't have our backs. It was just one of those team meetings, like where everybody like kind of got some off their chest. But like I said, we ended up, figuring it out. We had an okay season. And Rondo getting hurt in the playoffs really hurt us. We were up 2-0 on the Celtics. I think we would have won that series if Rondo didn't get hurt, to be honest.
Yeah, y'all were rolling, man. And we got legendary stories about Jimmy out in Minnesota in practice. Whether he just dominated practice by don't take any shots. Give me the 5 guys that's on the bench and we'll play pickup. We'll play pickup and we'll scrimmage with those guys. You got any psycho Jimmy stories from Chicago?
Shit, we just heard one.
Psycho
that's-
stories is the best.
I love it, man.
Like you just don't know, you just don't know what Jimmy you're gonna get, right? Like he could, like you said, he could come in, he could dominate practice just by scoring the ball. He could dominate by not scoring the ball. Like, he'd get into it with guys and then he'd be like, play me one-on-one after practice. They start playing one-on-one and Jimmy just torches him. Like it could be like I think he got into it with a 2-way guy one time. And dude was like, I don't really I don't care that you're the best player on the team. You're a star on the team. I can't remember who it was though. Damn, I wish I remember who it was, but I can't remember. And he was like, play me one-on-one. And Jimmy was like, I'm not playing for nothing on the line. And he was like, all right, let's play for 10 bands. And Jimmy was like, nah, if I win, you gotta never play basketball again. I'll give you 10 bands.
Dear
Wow.
God.
Jeez.
Oof, cutthroat.
That's tough. And
Like that, it gets
Michael,
like that.
that year, there was a lot of stories back then that D Wade wasn't fully bought in. He was kind of a bad locker room guy, which is hard to believe. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. What was D Wade like that year? Because there was a lot of stories that he wasn't kind of buying into everything going down.
Yeah, I mean, I think D Wade was honestly, bro, in a tough position. Coming from Miami, like towards the end of his career, in a new place. I don't know if he knew like exactly what his role was. Like I think that, having Jimmy and having Rondo, like I just think he was trying to figure it out. At times I could see why people would say that, like he's not bought in. He was injured a lot of the times. Like I think us as players needed to realize like he is older. Like so he would, for example, bro, he'd spend a lot of time on the table and like practice would be going on, or he would get frustrated that we wouldn't get him the ball in the right places. But then we would be like, well, how can we try to do this when we don't even get the reps at it in practice, right? Like sometimes you're out, sometimes you're in, but like he's trying to save his body, he's trying to heal his knee. So it was just a bunch of things that we needed to try to, like, we were trying to figure out. And at times it got, misconstrued that, he wasn't, bought into the team. Cause he would say, like, he would be passionate. He'd be like, yo, like, I want to win. Like, I want to do this. If anybody's got anything to say, like, let's talk. Like, we'd have conversations. So it wasn't like it was things like he was just ignoring anything and like letting things go and like not addressing anything. He was, but at times there was some issues. But, as far as, there was times where he would be a leader and speak on his past experiences and try to put us on game to certain things and try to lead the best way he could. And then there was times where, maybe we thought he could have been, a better leader.
Yeah.
You've been teammates with James Harden. You played against James Harden. This is just our excuse to show a piece of video that's silly, because this is a moment when you're playing against James Harden, and then this moment happens. But you're called for the foul here. Do you remember these moments like this, or do we just have fun watching them?
I remember. I remember. And of course, I get said this moment all the time.
First of all, those are the worst. Those are the worst Rocket jerseys in the history of the world. Also,
I mean,
yeah. I'm not feeling those either. This actually hurt my back for real.
it looks like it would hurt your back.
Yeah, and it was my 6th foul too. So I was out.
How was
and I
your
was
sixth
hooping. I
foul?
was hooping. It was my sixth foul. I had
Like
like
did it.
24 that game. It
That
was one
was
of those
before
games.
the time of doing this after every play.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
definitely need to review that one.
Yeah, Jimmy was out. D Wade was out, and I think Rondo was out too. Like, so it was like, you get the three guys out. You're like, oh, opportunities presenting itself, and I was playing well. I had like 23. The game was close, and then who called that to what's his name? Tony Robinson called that. Tony, is it Tony?
Tony
what's his name?
Brothers.
Tony
Brothers.
Brothers?
Yeah.
No, not brothers. No.
It's hot. I remember Tony Brothers told me my rookie year. I was complaining to him. He was like, "Listen, I sat Jordan down. I can sit you down." I'm like,
I'm sure
he'll
all
talk-
three of us got Tony Brothers stories. That's a whole nother episode. We get on Tony
That
Brothers.
should be.
come on, bro.
That's Chandler's guy. Michael, this has been awesome. You could tell us stories for 6 more hours and we'd appreciate it. We love it. Hope you'll come back.
Appreciate it, bro.
Brother. Sure.
We'll be back.